You want to view taxes as a debt that is owed to the government and select the time and the place and the rate that you're going to pay when you pay that debt. Hi friends, Colin Richards here. I'm president and founder of Lord & Richards, and once again, I am thrilled to be on this program talking to you about the things that are going to make the biggest difference in your life financially. As you know, if you've listened to our show for any length of time, we're all about helping you develop, obtain, and get access to the kind of coaching, planning, and help that will enable you to live a financially free life. And that's what it's all about. At Lord & Richards, we help you pursue the three major areas of freedom. Freedom of time, so that you can enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, get away from punching a clock, and just have time to do the things that you love with the people that you love. Freedom of health, so that that time is well spent. Most of us would say, hey, I would trade anything if I don't have good health for good health. And then freedom of wealth, which it underpins those other freedoms, because to have freedom of time, you're going to need income, preferably from guaranteed sources. To have freedom of health, you're going to need to be able to invest in your own health. And then, of course, freedom of wealth gives you that sense of not being bound, being able to enjoy a carefree approach, and also not to be subject to the whims of the market. And we teach you how to do all of that and so much more. And one of the key areas of freedom of wealth is to understand how to preserve your wealth from the tax man. Most of us are going to overpay taxes if we don't get out in front of this and develop a plan to reduce or eliminate taxes wherever possible. And that's the good news, is you can do this. Although our system is complicated, the fun part for Lord & Richards is we love unraveling the mess and putting together a beautiful plan to help you right now begin to save money on taxes. And in our prior segments, we talked about the system and kind of some of the challenges around our tax system. In this section, we're going to dive in over the next couple of episodes to how this impacts retirees in particular, because the complexity level goes up when you're retired. And we don't want this to be an overwhelming burden. You know, if our tax system were just about brackets, that would be great. But there are several complicating factors. And each of these factors creates an environment where what you expect to pay may not be what you actually end up paying. And we're going to dig into that right now. We're going to talk about, first of all, this thing where the government forces you to pay taxes on money that you would rather not. And that's called a required minimum distribution. Do you like that when somebody says required? I hate that. I like choices. I like options. And once again, as I talked about in our previous segments, you want to view taxes as a debt that is owed to the government and select the time and the place and the rate that you're going to pay when you pay that debt. Kind of like some of you who pay off your mortgage early, you select to do that in the time and in the manner that is convenient to you. And with taxes, that timing is critical because you want to pay that debt when it is most advantageous to you, when you're in the lowest possible bracket. And here's the cool part. Right now, we are in historically low brackets. So my encouragement to you, for starters, is don't wait till age 73 to start thinking about the fact that the government is going to force you to take money out of your IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, all of your tax-deferred retirement accounts. If you simply wait to do that, you are being victimized by required minimum distribution. We want you to optimize these distributions so that they're for your advantage at a time when you want the money and paying the taxes at a rate that you want to pay. Think of your IRA account as an account where you just put off the debt that you owe to the government. And in exchange, you get to use that money to compound and build your investments. That sounds great, but imagine if you worked hard, saved hard, and managed to build up $1 million IRA. Well, we already know that the government's going to take away probably 30 to 40% of that, depending on when and how you take those distributions. And so getting ahead of the game is going to be important. And one of the tools to help you avoid being caught off guard is to start taking distributions in advance in the form of what we call a Roth conversion. Okay, we're going to talk about that in more depth later, but converting the money from forever taxed to never again taxed. You know that's a phrase that I use often because it puts you in control of the timing and the amount of the taxes. So let's start a little bit with how they work, okay? So when you reach age 73, you must begin taking, according to the government schedule, at least a minimum amount out of your IRA, and they're going to tax you on that, okay? So you are going to divide that prior year's ending account balance in your IRA, so before you turn 73, by the rest of your life expectancy. Now, the government has completely put this together. It's not something that you just think up, well, how long do I plan on living? No, they have a table, okay? And when you get started, you divide that at age 73 by 26.5. So you can tell right now, you can take out a calculator, get your IRA balance on that calculator and divide it by 26.5. You would discover that amount for your first year of RMDs on an exactly $1 million balance would be $37,736. You say, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Yes, it is, okay? So we don't want to take this lightly because that gets added to your taxable income. So if you're already taking Social Security, if you have a pension, if you have other withdrawals you need to take. So timing of these withdrawals is vital. Now, as you get older, the percentage gets smaller, but ostensibly your account balance goes down. So maybe next year you weren't able to replace all that money because of market fluctuations. Maybe you didn't have your IRA in an account that was secure and you lost some money. Well, you'll pay less in RMDs in that case. And this continues for the rest of life. Now, by the way, just because it says 26 and a half years is your life expectancy doesn't mean that at age, 99 and a half, you suddenly don't pay RMDs. The longer you live, the higher that amount goes, okay? So we don't want to, we don't want to take for granted that, we're just going to never have to pay RMDs in the future when we get older. And so in theory, it's pretty simple and straightforward, right? But as you go up in income, the rate you pay also goes up, okay? So now you're going to pay taxes on that amount. And what we want to do is not let RMDs control us. I hate that word required. Let's get ahead and get a plan developed so that you control the timing of your distributions and the taxes that you pay. At Lord & Richards, we will help you develop, along with all the other plans necessary for retirement freedom, a plan for freedom from overpaying taxes. Part of your freedom of wealth, those three key freedoms that I've talked to you about, freedom of health, freedom of time, freedom of wealth. Let's get ahead of this. Taxes are the biggest expense you're going to have in your life. It's vital that we have a conversation right now, and it simply starts with a phone call.